we have a lot of huge problems. We have the nuclear problem in Korea. We have the nuclear problem in Iran. We have, of course, the whole array of problems, each of which, Afghanistan, and so forth. But then we have the financial issues. But they really are issues of the construction of a new world order. That's what this is about.
What is our common bond truly? Freedom!
The ultimate revolution is where society embraces its own servitude willingly. Society becomes a participant in the world as if they're spectators in a play, as if it was a fantasy. Their lives are really a fantasy with some little dabs of reality put in there, because obviously to feed the machine you have to work and generate income. So the slaves have to continue to work and fund the oligarchy, the mechanism. But understanding why and how you're being manipulated, for most about everyone, I mean, probably about 90% of the world have no idea how they're being manipulated, controlled, and influenced. And that there is an agenda against the people, against the middle class of America specifically. And here's some proof.
I use those illustrations to give you the extent of the control that is exercised by this Committee of 300. There are many other societies that are operating for the RIIA. The Illuminati, which has been around for many, many years. I've written a work called The Illuminati in America, 1784 to 1994. A lot of people think this is an ancient secret society that's gone away. They think that Adam Weishaupt had a quarrel with the Catholic Church and that's it. Don't you believe it? 13 of the top families in the United States are in the Illuminati today, and they have a big say on everything that happens politically in this country. Then we have the Society of Cincinnati, which I don't think many of you will have heard about. That is an ultra secret society to which every president of the United States is forced to belong, including our so-called conservative presidents. And I point this out to you to show you that it doesn't matter who is in the White House. This Committee of 300, through the Royal Institute for International Affairs, through the Council on Foreign Relations, exercises complete control. But their strongest arm is called the Club of Rome. Now, when I first heard of the Club of Rome in 1969, I immediately began my investigation. And as Ken told you, all of my investigations have been done on location. Every one of them. The Club of Rome is one of the most insidious, baneful organizations in existence today, which has done intolerable, immeasurable harm to the United States of America. This Committee of 300 told a man called Aurelio Pecci to form this Club of Rome with the main object of bringing down the industries and the agricultural development of the United States. He immediately wrote a paper in which he said there are too many people on the earth, and that the United States, with its industrial development, its agricultural development, is responsible for this curse of overpopulation. And he picked up the documentation for his work from Lord Bertrand Russell, a senior statesman of the Committee of 300. And Lord Bertrand Russell had written a work called The Impact of Science on Society. And if you can ever secure a copy of that book, which I doubt you'll be able to get, you will see in there that he said the world is grossly overpopulated and we have to get rid of at least half of the world's population, and it doesn't matter how we do it. So the Club of Rome was instituted and organized to start an attack on the world's population using the United States as the whipping boy. And they came up with a paper called the Zero Growth Post-Industrial Plan for Industry and Agriculture for the United States of America. 3 days after that plan was accepted as official United States policy by James Earl Carter, I was able to, through my intelligence people, get a copy of this insidious document. Basically what it said was that the middle class in the United States of America had to be destroyed, because in the coming push to a world order, the middle class would be the stumbling block, because history had shown that the peasant class in ancient days, when they had revolted, were just easily crushed. There was no resistance. But now had grown a new super class of people in the United States called the middle class, who had long-term employment, who had job security, who were well paid, who could afford to buy the products that were made by the United States and didn't need to buy products from China or anywhere else. And the Club of Rome post-industrial zero-growth paper said this has got to stop. We have to bring down the middle class of the United States. And the way that we will do this, the way that we will accomplish this task, is by crushing their industries.
When President Bush signed this in San Antonio, he was on our show, and then a few nights later I was with you, and the then Governor, now President-elect Clinton, asked about this, NAFTA, and the President said, to the best of my memory, well, I'm basically for it. I want to see the side agreements. I want to hear what the unions object to, and then I'll come back and sort of let you know. But it was not a definitive yes. What changed?
Well, we negotiated 2 side agreements that protect labor and protect the environment. And not until the 2 side agreements were completed did we agree to support NAFTA. Now, this is a good deal for our country, Larry.
Livestock in this country and animals have a better life than good, decent, hardworking Mexicans working for major U.S. companies. And here's one just to look at. Here's a good, decent man working his heart out, making his cardboard shack, and the cardboard came from boxes that were used to ship the goods down there.
Can I say something about
this? I didn't interrupt you.
Okay, now, guys.
Al Gore is such a liar. And he really sold the American people. This is a great deal for the American people. And Ross Perot was so on the money. I mean, after all, slums outside of the factories of American corporations, so paying slave wages to people living in poverty. This is what NAFTA brought us in GATT. Free trade. This is what it's brought us. Deindustrialization of America, reduction in wages, income, a destruction of the middle class, while the upper class and the uber class increase every year by tremendous numbers, 20% increases in some cases in their income. American people have to wake up. They're attacking the middle class. They're going to put us into serfdom. And it's happened. I mean, the wealth of the writing's on the wall. 70 million people on some sort of assistance. 76% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't prosperity. It's debt servitude. It's slavery. And it's been designed this way. Club of Rome. Shakespeare said it best. The world is a stage and we are merely players, performers and portrayers. And it's true. What he was saying is that the world is not what it appears to be.
Now, I'm going to just give you a little demonstration of the degree of control that is already in effect in this country concerning communications. Now, if you're smart, you know that if you turn the dial on your radio and on your TV set and on every news story, it has the same slant in the same words and it's the same stories. You know that the news and the media are controlled. If you don't, you're not playing with a full deck of cards. Okay? It is absolutely absurd to believe that all these different networks, news stations, newspapers, and radio stations are all owned by different people, yet they all carry the exact same stories every day, worded in the exact same way, with the same agenda and the same slant. You see, if they were all separate and independent, that could never happen in a million years, because no two people ever attach the same importance to the same event or the same slant on the same story unless they're handed it. 2 federal agencies are looking into a goof that led 4 extra states to get an emergency warning broadcast meant as a test for just 1 radio station, which caused all radio stations in those 4 states to go off the air. It's automated. They can cause 1 state to go dark as far as communications are concerned, or 2 states or 3 states, or all 50 with the push of a button. It's called FEMA. Relay points in Florida, Hawaii, Louisiana, and Ohio got the confusing signals. Now both the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Federal Communications Commission are looking into it to determine the exact cause and to be sure that there wasn't a functional error of the system, said FEMA spokeswoman Barbara Yeagerman. This was no accident, it was a test. To test the system, because they've never done it before, to make sure that they could cause selected radio stations in selected states to go off the air at their push of a button. It's the first time that they've ever made such a test, but they can't tell the public that they can do that anytime they want, anywhere, so they say, oh, it was a mistake. It was a goof. If you wake up some morning and you can't get any radio stations on your radio, you better dig a hole. I wrote about this in my book. I said the day will come when this will happen. Only it won't be a drill. It'll be to cause total confusion and panic in the population so they can do what they want and what they need to do, rounding up the people that they need to round up and need to get rid of in order to bring about their one world totalitarian socialist state. Without communications, what is the mob? Huh? Chaos. And what happened to those supermarkets when they ran out of food? Did you know that over 50 people were murdered during those riots in LA, and not one single person has been prosecuted for any of those murders to this day? And did you know when you bring it up in the city of LA that the people attack you? Emotions were running high. It should be forgiven. We don't want anybody to be prosecuted. Hey, that's dangerous. Think it can't happen here? Think again. Some of the people you've lived around all your life, when society breaks down, will turn into your worst enemies, the baddest people you've ever seen. They will kill, rape, murder, and steal. Right now, they're nice people. And I got to tell you, you can never for sure determine who in the world's going to do what when that kind of stuff happens. You just can't. You don't know. You can't really determine who's going to stand up and fight for freedom when they suddenly realize that they're going to be enslaved by this new world order. Some of the people will surprise you. Some of the people who tuck their tail and run will also surprise you, because they're some of the people who are standing up right now talking and squawking the loudest about how hard they're going to fight. You'll be amazed at who comes out of the woodwork to really fight and who runs and hides and turns squealer and rats on everybody when it does. But don't make the mistake that you can determine who's going to do what now, because you can't. The only reason I can make this statement is based upon solid research of history, because this ain't the first time it ever happened. Nor is it going to be the last if the human race has anything to do with it. We've been doing this since the beginning.